going to talk of the future of thinking. We shall explore the borders, the boundaries of human thinking together. Have you ever thought what makes us become different than animals? Experts say that this is our capability of thinking. We think. But in fact, everybody thinks, even animals. But we are addicted to comfortability. We want our life to be comfortable. We don't want and we don't like to do the hard work. We prefer others to do the hard work for us. So we have invented tools and inventions to do the hard work for us. Think, for example, that we don't like to walk long distances. So we have invented cars. This is the purpose. We don't like to wash our clothes, so we have invented washing machines, and so on, and so on, and so on. But at some point, we have realized that to think might be hard work. Isn't it? To think. So we have invented machines that will actually, what? Think for us. And this is not really new idea, because some 400 years ago, we have invented the first mechanical calculator. What is a calculator? Don't underestimate the calculator. We're using it to do simple thinking, such as 2 plus 2. But it was meant to replace our thinking. How many of you, during math test, are using calculator just to verify that 2 plus 2 are really 4? Don't be shy. We all do that. We want it to replace our thinking. Now, when it got better and we got the appetite, we wanted this machine to think more complicated thoughts for us. And thus, we have invented artificial intelligence. Now, what is artificial intelligence all about? It is intelligence, and it's artificial. So, it is not human intelligence. It is meant to imitate human intelligence in artificial ways. Okay? So, these machines, these codes, are meant to replace the human thinking, to think for us. And we have found that it is not so nice, not so easy to interact, to communicate with machines. So we didn't want only them to think for us, but to imitate our appearance. We wanted these machines to look like humans, not only think like humans, but also to look like. So we have made the humanoids, thinking machines, who look like persons. Now, this is either not a new idea. I'm sure that you all know the famous story of Pinocchio. What was that all about? A wooden doll that wants to be a real boy, using the magic of a fairy. So who is Pinocchio in our story? Using the magic of science. This is a very deep and old quest. We want them. We really want them to think for us. Now, you can say, well, artificial intelligence will never be like human intelligence, right? So how do we assure that? We define a test, and we say, no machine can pass this test, so we are secure. Right or wrong? Because every time we define such a test, the machine passes the test. And how do we deal with this phenomenon? We define a new test. One of these tests was Turing test, if you have ever heard of. Well, it was passed 2 years ago. So how did we deal with that? We defined a new test. Today, in the frontier of science, we are not talking really about artificial intelligence. We are talking actually about SI. AI is artificial intelligence, but SI is superintelligence. It means that it is artificial, but it is much more advanced than the human intelligence. Now, how that come? The traditional artificial intelligence was made on computers that were worked by binary code. It means that the processor could accept only 0 or 1 at the same time. Today, we are moving into the quantic processors. They can accept 0 and 1 at the same time, and 2, and 3, and many more. This is beyond the human capability. So we are talking about SI, to really replace human thinking. And this is not the end. I'm sure that many of you have heard of the post-biology, beyond biology. It has begun with implanting microchips in human brain in order to make the life of handicapped become easier, to move their arms, to move their legs. And we thought, well, we can accelerate human thinking by implanting those microchips in certain areas in the brain. So we did it. And it is now under experiment in many universities around the world. And I'm just thinking, if such a person is thinking using this microchip, is this human thinking? Machine thinking? What is it, in fact? Who is controlling the thought? Is it a zombie activated by the microchip? What would be if the microchip would have a certain content governed by the government or anyone else? Is this the future of thinking? But let's go back to the superintelligent and the artificial intelligence. They look like us, they think like us, but they're not us. So basically, this is a new kind of species. So let me introduce you to the Machina sapiens. Not the Homo sapiens, us, the Machina sapiens. Now, you can say, okay, what's wrong with that? We have turtles, we have elephants, we have dogs, we have Machina sapiens. What's wrong with that? Right? Wrong. Because if it is meant to imitate human thinking, the human thinking includes inherently crimes. We are not thinking only good things, we are thinking also bad things. This is part of our life. And how do we deal with bad thinking? How do we deal with crimes? At the whole of our history, we have coped with crimes using criminal law. But the basic problem is that criminal law was originally designed for whom? For humans. Can we put robots in jail? What's the use of that? So we might ask, well, artificial intelligence and crime, well, this is purely science fiction. This is not going to be, not tomorrow. Well, wrong again, I'm sorry. Because the first recorded murder, I'm not talking about an accident. The first recorded murder of human by a robot happened in 1987 in Kawasaki factory in Japan. The robot identified the worker that want to unplug it from the electricity net as a threat on its mission. So it had to annihilate it. How? It used hydraulic arm to smash the worker to the wall, and it kept working. 1987. 2 years ago, we have started to use sex robots. Does anyone here object having sex with a robot? If anyone object here, raise the hand. All the liars. It looks like us. It does exactly what we want. It doesn't have headaches for tomorrow and is totally free in schedule. You can lie to yourself. But the first recorded rape by a robot was 8 months ago. So basically, we're not talking only on Machina sapiens. We're talking on Machina sapiens criminalis, a new creature, very dangerous creature, with super intelligence, so it is much more intelligent than us. And we use it in autonomous cars. Some months ago, a woman was hit to death by an autonomous car in the United States. We use it to market our stock exchanges. We use it as prison guards. We use it as medical surgeons. And what's not? So how can we deal with that? As I said, we are used to use the criminal law to deal with such phenomena. The problem is that criminal law was originally designed for humans. So what can we do? Well, the first time that a court has imposed criminal liability on non-human creature, it was 400 years ago, when the first corporation was indicted and convicted. It was in England in 1637. And I'm not talking about the board or the management or the workers. I'm talking about the corporation itself. How can that be? Well, the definitions should be suit to the new realm. Let's talk about robots. Basically, in criminal law, we have two requirements: the factual element and the mental element. The factual element basically consists of conduct. Well, we know that robots can move from one place to other place, they can move their arms, so this is not really a problem. The second requirement is much more problematic, is the mental element. And it basically consists of awareness. Can machine be aware? Well, that depends on how we define awareness. And in criminal law, in most legal system, we define awareness as absorbing factual data and understanding it. It means processing it into an image that we can make decision according to this image. Well, I think that you know the answer for yourself. These machines are capable of awareness, as defined by criminal law, much better than us. Deeper, faster, and much more accurate than us. So basically, there is no barrier for imposition of direct criminal liability on machines. But if we do that, they can plead insanity. An insane robot. Well, corporations plead insanity, and that's quite normal. So there is a translation of what is insanity for a robot. There is a translation of what is jail, imprisonment, incarceration, fines, public works, and every other punishment that we know for humans, which is suitable for a robot. This is not a problem. It's just a matter of definition, of adoptions. So, do we really want machines to think for us? Are we really aware of the dangers of using these machines to think for us. In all of our history, the human mind was developed by challenges. We want to challenge ourselves. Now we are not challenged by 2 plus 2 because we have the calculator. And we don't have to challenge ourselves with driving. What's the right velocity, how to take the turn, because we have autonomous cars. And we don't have to think of many other things. People say that medical surgeons wouldn't be in 50 years from now because the machines are much more accurate and they have no negligence. So what would be left for us to think of with the chips? How can we evolve from this stage? Are these machines the next step of evolution we have made by our own hands? If we look for the past 50 years, we are transferring more and more responsibility to these machines. Have we ever stopped for a second to understand what are we doing to our mind? What is the real future of thinking? What is left for us? Now, this is not a scientific decision. This is a social decision. We all have to share our opinions. We all have to take this decision. We cannot leave it for the experts. We can use boundaries, we can open the boundaries, but we have to understand what would be the consequences. I thank you for listening, and have a nice day.